Hi, friends. It's Halinka Minnen here, certified body mind coach and the owner and creator of the Happy and Healthy Place. We're spending this month talking about navigating boundaries. And first, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity and the space to be able to be seen, to be able to be raw, to be able to be vulnerable. This work with body mind coaching has been one of the deepest, most growth that I have ever done. And we as coaches get the opportunity to be able to transform and grow ourselves as we're working with clients. And the reality is we would be doing a disservice if we didn't take the opportunity to really feel into this, to be able to be embodied and to be able to really experience these topics. And not just to tell what other people should do, but really get to embody it and to live this work out. And that's what Living Body Mind is all about. And that is why we're sharing these magazines and these topics with you. So, as you read from my article, being a chronic people pleaser, I have really discovered my whole life that I've really not had boundaries, right? And we're talking about those difficult boundaries, those boundaries with the people that you love, the boundaries that are required in order to feel safe, the boundaries that are required to allow you to be you. So this video is for those of you who are a chronic people pleaser like me, who maybe as they've read through this magazine, maybe you've discovered that, me too. Boundaries are hard for me too. So what I want to share with you today is I want to share 5 things that I am doing myself in order to help gain the confidence, gain the momentum, and gain the skill about creating new boundaries and how to be able to sort of navigate boundaries on a regular basis and have that be a new normal. Now, when we're talking about the difficult boundaries, it can be a lot to just jump in and say, okay, I'm navigating boundaries. We're going to do the hard thing. We're going to do the most difficult thing. We're not going to do that today. What I'm actually working on with myself is healing my relationship with myself and learning how to create proper, healthy, non-negotiable boundaries with myself so that I can gain the confidence, gain the skill, because creating boundaries really does become a skill, so that I can use that skill in the difficult situations, so that I have the confidence, the skill set, and the ability to be able to create these boundaries in those difficult situations. Okay, so here are the 5 things that I am using myself right now. This is for those chronic people pleasers. This is for the people who want to develop strong boundaries for themselves so that you can actually use them in everything else. Okay, are you ready? So, body mind is all about learning to trust the wisdom of our bodies, right? Learning to reconnect and listen and understand and trust the wisdom of our bodies. Now, that wisdom of my bodies is what got me to this point to teach me and to show me that the boundaries that I actually thought that I had, that I thought were good, really were non-existent. Okay, so that is where the embodiment came in. That is where the learning came in. So the question comes from there, well, how the heck do I actually create boundaries if I don't know what that looks like? So the very first thing that I recommend and I'm doing for myself is some research. Learning what boundaries are, learning what healthy boundaries are supposed to look like, learning what boundaries, how they can exist, and that they're okay. I Highly, highly recommend this book called Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. This is the book that I actually quoted for my articles that gives you that definition of what boundaries are. When we're starting to really take that embodied feeling and being like, okay, I need to do something different. And we're stepping out of our comfort zone in order to create new action. We're creating new neural pathways. We're creating a new way of doing things. There starts to come up all this sort of unknowns where like, okay, I want to do things a different way. I don't know what that's going to look like. And so we actually have to learn some of those new skills. Now, when we work with a coach or we work with a therapist, right, they're helping impart that information. But if you're wanting to do a little bit of self-study, there's a lot of beautiful information by people who are not only professionals, but really are the best of what they do. So step number one for me is studying, is learning what boundaries are. It's learning what boundaries look like. It's learning to what the action steps look like in order to take and actually really be, embody, and live those boundaries. And really the best way to do that is to talk to the experts. And if you don't have an expert where you are, then books and research is a fabulous way to go to it. So Boundary by Dr. Henry Cloud, Dr. John Townsend is the first place I would recommend to start. So number one is research. Number two is journaling. Journaling is something as a coach I recommend to my clients all the time. It's probably the very, very first thing that I recommend to my clients. The reason why journaling is so incredibly powerful is that when we're living up in our heads and we have all these concerns and we have all these thoughts and we have all this what ifs, we can start to get into this spinning mode and it becomes a little bit of a vortex that goes on and on and on and on and on. And really, at the end of the day, we can feel a little bit crazy. We can feel overwhelmed. And we start to live up in our heads, and our brains and our heads start to run the show. When we start to journal those thoughts, journal those experiences, journal the situations as you remember them where maybe boundaries were crossed, maybe where you wish you said something different, maybe where you wish you had a different way of doing things. Once we start to journal it down with pen and paper, what we do is we start to download and literally get the information out of our heads so that it's not running the show. When we have a worry or concern and it's living in our heads and it's spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning, there isn't an end, right? It keeps going and going and going. And every time it gets going, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it seems to never stop. I promise you that when you put pen down to paper, there is a natural end. There's a natural stop. It may be a paragraph, it may be 2 pages, it may be 10 pages, but I guarantee you that there is an end where your brain has an opportunity to say, that's it. And when our brain has an opportunity to say, that's it, that's when we have the opportunity to be embodied. That's when we have the opportunity to reflect back. And that's when the opportunity that when we reflect back, we have the opportunity to have a choice to do things differently, to maybe take the next step in that specific situation, or to be able to learn to set that boundary and actually document it. Well, what did I do? What did I say? How did it go? Did they respond well? How did I feel about this? You're starting to document what is working for you, what is not working for you, and you're starting to trust your body and not just all the thoughts in your head, okay? So 1 is to do some research, 2 is to journal all out so that your brain has a chance to dump and you're not living completely in your head, you're now having an opportunity to connect to your body. Okay, so the third thing is a schedule. This is my new schedule for July. It's a paper journal and schedule and planner that I use every single day. When we are people pleasers and when we have the struggle that we're putting everybody first, we cannot create boundaries with others until we learn the boundaries with ourselves. Chronic people pleasers, and I can say this because I'm one of them, will put everyone's needs before their own. Chronic people pleasers will have something that's really important to them and not do it because they get called to do something else. Which actually, every time we don't do what we need to do and keep the boundary for ourselves, we re-engage in that current neural pathway that we have to say, do you know what? You don't matter. You don't matter and you're not worthy. So yes, you need to take care of this other person. Do you know what? You don't matter and you're not worthy, and you're never going to be worthy until you do this for this other person. You are never first. You're not worth it. When we have an opportunity to have a schedule and write down, what are your needs? What are the things that you need in order to show up as your best self? What are your non-negotiables for your day that you need to take care of yourself first in order to be there for others, to be able to serve them? Maybe it's a food plan. Maybe it's daily meditation. Maybe it's daily prayer time. Maybe it's your workouts. Maybe it's that date with a friend and you're able just to kind of giggle and do something creative. Whatever it is. Writing down your non-negotiables with yourself and keeping that promise to yourself will help you have the conversation with those who you love around you to help set boundaries, to help start setting the boundaries. What you're doing is you're creating the boundary and creating the conversation and creating the reliability and keeping the promise to yourself with some of the small things. And you're doing the small things that feed you to serve others and building up the resiliency and building up the reputation and building up the consistency, so that when we need to create those difficult boundaries, when we need to have those difficult conversations, we have the confidence because we know we're worth it. Having that schedule to know that you're worth it. So step 1 is to do some research. Step 2 is to journal, get out of your head, allow that monkey brain to stop. Step 3 is working with your schedule, really having your non-negotiables in there, and keeping the promises to yourself so you can create self-boundaries before you have the difficult boundaries. Okay. The 4th thing, once we start to do all that, we're getting out of our head, we're creating the self-boundaries, we're creating this container for ourselves that's super important. Now it's time to re-embody. My oils, my essential oils, these are the things that I use every single day to anchor myself, to allow myself to get out of my head and to re-anchor into my body. For me, they're usually really grounding oils. They're oils to help with stress. They're oils to help with overwhelm. They're oils to help with that monkey brain so I can just have that exhale and just sink. Maybe you need something a little bit more uplifting. Maybe you need something a bit more energetic. Maybe you're like me and need something a little bit more grounding. If it's essential oils, making sure that they're pure, making sure that they're consistent, making sure that they're safe to be able to use. If essential oils are not your thing, that's okay, but find something that is a tactile experience to help you ground down. Mala beads, if you're doing meditation, will kind of do a similar things. You have those meditation or sort of rings that kind of create that sensation. Something where there is a tactile experience, so that you're able to take a few deep breaths. You're able to sit. You're able to reconnect with your heart. You're able to reconnect with your being. Having something to anchor yourself will allow you to do that quicker and allow you to do that a bit more consistency. Okay, so education, make sure that you learn what you need to learn, journal, your schedule, having something like essential oils to anchor you to be able to get to that embodied experience. And the 5th and final one, my friends, for me, it's prayer. For me, it's knowing my worth and my purpose, my worth of being a child of God, my purpose of doing everything for His glory, and that the good comes to all of those who live in His purpose. Maybe for you, it's creation and source. Maybe for you, it's Mother Nature. But whatever your spiritual element is, knowing that all of this is bigger than us, knowing that we can't do it all on our own, knowing that we have something else. For me, it's God, that I am able to rely on God, and that at the end of the day, He's got me. So, my dear friends, I hope this is helpful. If you are struggling with those real difficult boundaries, I would love to continue this conversation with you. Try these 5 things out of education, journaling, scheduling, anchoring, and prayer, and connecting to God, Mother Nature, Source. Let me know which one really spoke to you. I would love to hear of how the work is going for you. I would love to hear how that you're actually taking care of yourself, creating your own boundaries, and using that momentum and that experience and that new neural pathway to build the confidence so that you can have those difficult conversations and so that you can create those difficult boundaries. Because, my friends, I'm here to tell you that you're worth it. I'm here to say that I'm worth it. Please join us continuing this conversation at Body Mind Living. I can't wait to hear how this work is serving you. Thank you for seeing me. I see you.
This is Body Mind Living with Laura Wick. Thanks for watching.